how to do video intros. Like, this is actually so weird. Let's talk poetry. So, if you don't already know me, my name's Tasia. I am 16 years old and I am a poet/author. I wrote this book. I also wrote another book. It's titled Rough Nothing. This one is titled Blind Sight, and I love everything poetry. So, for those of you who have been on my channel, you're well aware that I haven't been on here for a couple months. I did post a video last week just doing a short little intro as to what my new and improved channel will be looking like. Aside from that, I haven't been here in a hot second. I may be really bad at this YouTube thing because I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm learning as I go. But yeah, this video is going to be the start to my poetry talk series, which in short is basically like a coffee talk, except it's poetry talk. I like the name. And basically it's just gonna be everything poetry. Everything to do with poetry, that's what this series is gonna be about. This episode is gonna be my favorite poetry books so far and why. Maybe this can give you guys some ideas as to what poetry books you should buy. My ears, like, it's been plugged all day. Like, it's plugged. It's so annoying. I would put my poetry book on the list, but you know, I might be a little biased. I'm kidding. I won't put my book on the list. It's not on the list. But if you do want to check out my poetry book, the link is in the description. The first book, I was really trying to avoid putting Rupi Kaur on this poetry list because any poetry video that you find on YouTube, I guarantee Rupi Kaur will be on that list. So I was trying to give better suggestions that maybe people haven't heard of. But like, you just can't beat Rupi Kaur. Like, her poems are amazing. She's number one on the list. She is my all-time favorite. This is her most recent book, Homebody. I have all of her books. They're up there on my shelf. But Homebody, I definitely feel like Homebody was the best out of all of them. I'm not gonna lie, I would say all her books deserve to be on this list. Like, they're all my favorites. But in short, basically what this book is about is just everything femininity, love, mental health, growth, self-love, all of it. Like the healing, the breaking, everything. Like, this book is quite literally the whole freaking package. It's perfect, especially if you're a person that has struggled with mental health, sexual assault, stuff like that. Especially if you're a new reader, like someone who's new to poetry and reading poetry, I feel like Rupi Kaur is one of the best places to start. Another way to describe this book is it's therapy in a book. Like, this is therapy. I could replace therapy with this. No, I'm kidding. But it's literally therapy. Like, I feel like Rupi Kaur really puts like her experiences into aesthetic words. That's what I like calling poetry. Like, as I start up this channel, you're gonna hear me say aesthetic words a lot because that's how I describe poetry. Like, poetry is literally just aesthetic words, and she does an amazing job of that. Like, her poetry is so aesthetic. She's one of my biggest inspirations. Whenever I was having writer's block, I would pick up her book, go on Pinterest, whatever, read her poems, and start writing. Like, Rupi Kaur is everything. Her book is amazing, and I 100% recommend it. And I'm sorry to everyone who is sick and tired of hearing her books on every single best poetry books to read list, but what were you expecting? I swear to God, when I finished the book, I might have shed a tear or two because I was so sad that it was over. Like, it was just, I love Rupi Kaur. So number 2 on the list is The Hard Part is Living by Christabel Marburn. This book is by an author who currently, I believe she is 17, maybe 18, but at the time that she published this book, she was 16 years old. Obviously, I'm currently 16 and I have 2 published poetry books. This author was one of my main inspirations to publish my own book. 2 years ago, I was not thinking about being an author or publishing a book. Like, that was not even in my mind. I did write poetry back then, but I didn't even know that poetry books were a thing. And then I found her on TikTok when she had like first published her book. I was like, you can do that? She is the reason why I started writing again. I find that her poetry is really dark, but really deep and like heartfelt. Like, her book is mainly about mental health, and like that's why it's so like heartfelt. She explains life in such a real way. Like, she explains real life experiences that everyone goes through in the most real way possible, and it just makes you feel very seen and heard. She writes about things that we all feel and think but are too like nervous to talk about out loud. Half the time I would be reading a poem and I'd be like, and the best part about this book is it's super relatable. If you haven't already heard about her, you should definitely check her out. Also, just search up her name on TikTok. You'll find her TikTok as well. This is available on Amazon along with her second book that's published, so you should definitely go check it out. And last but not least on my list for today, I know it's only 3, but to be honest, I don't have that many poetry books at the moment. I know. I should be ashamed of myself considering I'm literally a poet. But for now, we're gonna end the list with this last book titled Anatomy by Karina Vigil. The only downfall to this book, it's amazing. However, it is extremely short. As you can see, it's very, very thin. This was one of the first poetry books I ever read. When I was planning to write my book, the first step I took was ordering poetry books so I could get a feel and a look to what my poetry book should look like. This was my first one, along with 2 others. Guarantee you, it's a great read. The thing I like most about her poetry is that it's very metaphorical. And that's like my poetry. I love using metaphors, and like my favorite poems that I've written are very metaphorical. And that's what I love about her poetry. Because it's so metaphorical, you can apply it to your feelings or your life in any way that you want to. Her poems aren't directed towards one audience. Like, you can interpret her poems in any way you want. I find that really cool. Like, that's a really hard thing to do. Her poems are like the last poetry book I was talking about, where she writes about things that you feel and think about but don't talk about. Like, it's food for thought. Her poems are like food for thought, and it's really creative and everything. Like, oh my god. Honestly, I think I might have to reread this book because I haven't read it in like a hot second. Anyone who's getting into poetry, aside from my book being a good place to start, another good place to start is this book, and also Ruby Kaur. I mentioned that, but they're all good places to start. So that's my top 3 poetry books at the moment. I have a lot of poetry books that I have bought but haven't read yet, so I definitely plan to read more. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I haven't read that many poetry books, which is why my list is so short at the moment. But if you are a person that reads poetry and you have any poetry book suggestions that you think I should read, please let me know in the comments. Same goes for if you have any video suggestions in relation to this poetry talk series, or just any video ideas in general related to mental health, poetry, possibly singing covers. I'm thinking of doing that in the future, but we'll see. But anything along those lines, let me know in the comments, and I can't wait to keep posting. Like, oh my god. Last but not least, if you like this video, any other video that I've posted, or just my presence in general, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you want to see my face more often than just once a week, you can go follow my name TikTok and my poetry TikTok and my Instagram. I guess that's really it. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye.